상가요 나모 구로베 나모 뷰다요 나모 다라마요 나모 상가요 나모 구로베 나모 뷰다요 나모 다라마요 나모 상가요 간대라제 괴연제 돌가네 라가쇼사 본대 존재제 셔예야보 괴연제로상 세단제마 네언데이셔소소 네언제나연가 세언제변데데 제즈올로이마 예배존가 다론데베 서연아이시안존도 대만예제 개연자이쇼소 세제제enge 자베로전도 예사이나베 예연조레시 자베오베예라메온제베고 본데어제베 대연데알라이자제 예오제예 나소이메돈다 제어제연도베 나세어제어자소 모자예제 제어제연자소데 세어나이제연조 제어라이제어바 가이제연도메 예연에어사바예 르응아예제 미가이제어제바 케어바라연도바 소인제어메어데언조 니언에언제어바 다베오소소샤 니언메언데언데 만데언조라 제 원보이게어제 라이제언제아마라 다이자선바 다이베어예어라 May I remind all of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation or the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of motivation, we should all participate in this Lamrim teaching, teaching on the stages of the path to enlightenment by Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. I would like to read a page or two from this Lamrim text, volume number 2 in English translation of the Lamrim Chenmo, page 119, to give you the blessing of oral transmission followed by explanation.
다른 섬 다다네 삼바 정고소 대다라 삼바 타원에 심진라 당외 세고당 메메소 내가서 로버 메바노 줄롱 줄로버 제바노 신도 신도된 저제바 쇼냐비 삼바 바 제니 롱동디 시베주나 니무진 제가 동아동 세바네 세바네 메라와 심제다 지벨라와 메빈디시 조바지와 심제신 세계 제사노 니무진 모이베 동오 셰랑 어바데다 신제제수 신제제수 뒤세네 랑게시 랑게제 쩨는 신제 쩨 Jun machine de Jurkin Rindasana Sodara Jelaba Banjo Zobra Yapongjo Abdul Songso Dela Kaji Simje Tangela Simje Ngoba Yin Be Simje Jela Rindasama Missy Pambi Bondon Bowman Shell Dela Sheda Simje Rela Yoshi Ribu Biti Miteba Majin Lala Hila Mujang Ti Dadu Somme Pama Midishi Mao Gubandi Mi Roba Lo Samba Tabani Samatani Mushin Tajanti Rini Dadu Somme Kasu Shenji Imbadu Sheni around the level Rindansana Bamba Wong Telagonso Ti Cher Devashin Loso Mohamed Simje Honge Longje La Ku Tong Chao Nyang Du Jibe Jena Yeba Midlabdule Daboda Jebe Longje Namje Daboda Jebe Lu Song Nyang Be Jena Yeba Mede Tenda Du Jawli Sheba Kong 소와다게 제여버데네 제여버네 마이노 시에서 게데 요시테 심진 라와메시야베 디에 마나 와제나 예반조르냐나 디에 좀미데 데니레 신디베 이제 제베 통라좀 베베 텐지지오 노와라오조 비비비 냐위 로신지 디베 나마메 바다 제진예바 메도 시에서 무슨 심지어 단계라 메데는 류동어데 두도모 위에 된다와라 님고베도 냥도 냐몬도 마데바 메사티베 딩이데 다다지비 청주와생 베베테 디고 가시기 디고나 머르바 마데 바라셔 메리디베 동에 스미 모차라진 모차 쳔보 진 오르시 시비시로 주변대로 로원에만 가시기에 터즈모셔와 메리고 소시소 손바진비 라드에 올라서 땡탕지 예시다 저와도 대범된 소소 라드베 예도 제바랑 오도 잡디 야와 동불로 타바 중대 뒤에서 베테 라마니 저지에서라와데 바와데 티에구네 티에구네 랑디베 제보 고보 타보니 진비 지르진비어 고보 말리바 주바인라 쳬버 나만라 주바낭 티 삼바반도 마도와샤 온요도 切的这我他妈那边甚至大家老话这的我都不是我别去的到他们去吧他们呢，那么人没得危险，这边是把我老婆送的来当不我了地，来当不去人些没把我到吧。来当不为去人些没把我到没到也现在吧这边是把了小。我他们那个单位给我做上的，我那么他们你们把他们写这个，我把我这边提不成不对吧？你写的，爬起重点对吧？小娃你这边学习呗，这把学习单位这个写个写完了，你让给一些东北水平的。那么也学了没心学了，现在这个小娃说吧，对吧？天天空的空，对吧？别这种对吧？这个做绿党，天没党，这个什么在这个给我的早上的我为上的，这些经济了吧？把那么了吧？就没得别这些现在的周上现在现在。到些地方，这他呢，街都被这些的松说，你把上升给准备先备上去升级，强生们这些了，强生了中国确实这么小送的，强生们这个说到我嘞，现在为小区生备千把康给上级行看看那个什么你的他给别人不是那顿基本讲这就讲的。第一把这是把要到我这边上街拿了，破为下一步啥子情况？就是小区什么讲，这些呗，这些我要些电脑电人电些说那门对接的，下一步第一边的啥子情况？你们上街这么叫我妈那我先说，他天下人。他群众的考点的考啥大点的，本身别话点，那些他那我写么的呢？那讲过的，马上呢那有的考对那别个100多都是街头嘛的，他其实点来是完了。
Geshe read from page 119 over to page 122 right on the top to give us the blessing of oral transmission of Lamrim Chem of the text. And just to recapitulate what we talked about last week is this, that we need to train our mind in the practice of generosity or dan paramita, giving. What that really means is we have to cultivate the mind to give, the wish to give, right? We may not have to give everything now, footnote, because we are not capable already anyway. But it's important for us to train our mind, this willingness to give or wanting to give. And so that's very important, because as we train our mind in this way, when we find opportunities, later on, then we will be able to give with sense of delight and joy. We find joy in giving. If we don't train our mind, we may not experience the joy of giving, even if we find opportunities to give.
我对他提到三八他们的深圳当然谁过的那边老师我的就现动的他叫我小年比300几年，人都的400几位，人都的400几呢。你目前是东岸等400没把深圳他们这了没变对线，叫把叫深圳县是给切日，强那你目前嘛一边东岸我。县了，我把这到了县，这到了县了，我把这到县里的县呢，让给，其实觉得你马新领导就为人长上呢，说大爷他们就啊，老丢的松说是，他这里看他这300多讲我们他当不想说谁现在刚刚，因为谁都是把老当上6当3的县呢，因这点是不给他。你录着看我龙州的咱的行动300没什么钱呢，行动节呢，因别龙节为因素，他收入个因那的，因为记得我啥，因为你目前是提醒的，因为年纪还是都龙节为因呐。 니무제기 동아서 니무제기 동아 가지 예반 정글이스. 다 시바스 계지 시바면은 해동 삼바디 베게 차게르 데서고 있으면 해동 삼바디 제버도 되게 쇼는 니무제 뭐에 비 예바지스다. 니바 쇼지고로. 어디래. 다 해는 거 받다라 이는 가서 제수 제두시 다 해준 거 받대. 이니 다 해준 거도 살아있는 상에 해인들이 소소 농제가 있나? 이 소소 대 농조대 라와디 신나베 잘라린장 사나 엔 판바제그레스 저 가서 정심디 영웅 넘바에는 판바제그레스 어디 랍디 동자스 다 랍디 데피지 데인지레 그래서 예지 혀를 랍디 데인지레 루르고 랍디 시아지로 디피 수인주 요르세 간주르도 민두세야 되고 계자만 보도 왔다 디 랍디 용라디 예지 혀를 랍디 리사레
So Geshe is giving explanation on what you find stated on page 119. So bodhisattvas, are the ones who have the spirit of enlightenment or the mind of enlightenment. We call bodhicitta. That is seeking enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. And bodhisattvas dedicate everything they have, body, resources, roots of virtue, for the well-being and betterment of all other sentient beings. Okay? So that being the case, those of us who are following bodhisattva's way of life, if you will, having dedicated everything we have for the benefit of others, now in reality we have to use our resources for ourselves too. But if we use it without the altruistic, memory or mindset, right, altruistic motivation, then that might incur what is called transgression or infraction, right? Because when we have dedicated everything for others, now if we use it for our own just self-interest, right, without thinking about others, right, we kind of don't think about the altruistic motivation. Then the use of our own resources, although they belong to us, but in one way we dedicated them for others, so it's like they belong to others now, right? So we might incur what is called transgression or infraction. The Tibetan word is tungwa, transgression. Okay. On the other hand, when we use resources with wish to benefit others, so if we enhance that kind of mindset or the altruism, then we are not going to experience what we call the diluted transgression or nyumonchen tungwa in Tibetan, transgression. So it is stated in the compendium of trainings, Shiksha Samukchaya or Labakuntu in Tibetan. And Geshe thinks the compendium of training, this one really is the one authored by great Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva. Because there's another compendium of training by Arya Nagarjuna. And there's all this different opinions, whether that was ever been translated into Tibetan or not, does that exist or not. So we are not talking about the compendium of training by Nagarjuna, but we're talking about compendium of trainings by Shantideva. So in that, what is stated is that, there's a monastic bodhisattvas or who have made the bodhisattva commitments. If they use their resources, without altruistic motivation or the mindset, then that might even, amount to one of their downfalls. Downfalls means, breaking their monastic root vows. Because having dedicated everything for the well-being of others, and now if you use it just for your own self-interest or, selfish motives, that might even, amount to what is called the moral downfall or the breaking the root vows, which means my first footnote, you are not monk anymore, or none for that matter.
Dela kaji simje tamjela ngoba yimbe simje jigla renza sa mesibe pamba mingshi de la heda simje de la yuji ribu ngobe se ti mede ba mashi lala hen ngwe yang ti da so mebe pamba medo she mao se ta til da labdi de pamba jungri se renza pamba jungri se tele yata deba do mira kaji somdewa 가지지기세나 아니 소소비게 룽조에 비게 심지타지는 것이 심지타지는 거에서 소소비게 무로 비게 시와 사yap구에는 심지레레 지자는 빼자마고지에 도구 말봐. 그래서 심지레레도는 린탕 말봐. 린다상으로 봐. 그래서 고셔저저는 심지에도 소도 도야 돼 고셔저는 이네 심지레레 린다상 말이 그래서 판방용화요 말이 승인 직시. 다 가지는데 디데베 지도지 시고 말 심지레레를 봐. lum주 사도사서 뭐셔라 왔어. 이거다 판방 용초래서 다 판방 용거래서 다. 다 가지직에서는 대세고도 다디 판바 가르사 린다선의 판바 용음을 가르서는 될 디고 다 간제 판바 중알라 아니 lum주 응어버디 현이 다도 송하시 대야 소소 시버 그게 현이 다도 송하고 다 현이 다 마승의 판바지야요 말에 제가 지서도 아니디 소소 응어셔는 현이 다도 송하요 말 봐서 제가 판바 용음 말이스 그때 내가 손도
다 판바 매승의 니도 오게.
매승의 니도 여승의 지라다.
So on page 119 towards the bottom and over to page 120, I think we find three views expressed with regard to that contention that if a monastic bodhisattva where to use his or her resources without altruistic motivation, just for his or her own personal interest and motive, then that might amount to the moral downfall of breaking the root vows, right? And that's a huge deal, isn't it? For the monk and nun, well, then what else is there to be a monk and nun? That's a huge deal, right? So with regard to that contention or the point, three different views have been expressed here, right? And so number one, some critics say, right, whoever they are, say that in order to, for one's action to amount to the moral downfall, there is a certain what called value requirements of what you take from others, right? There is value. So they said that when you dedicate everything for sentient beings, now if you were to distribute, what you have dedicated for sentient beings, for each one of sentient beings, they hardly get anything, isn't it? So they said, so when you use it for yourself, in terms of the value requirement is not fulfilled because sentient beings, each of them doesn't get anything almost, right? What you have dedicated to them. So therefore, it doesn't amount to moral downfall or breaking the root vows, okay? That's one critique, okay? Then another critique says, no, actually it does constitute moral downfall because you have dedicated everything you have, for each and every sentient beings, right? So when you have dedicated everything you have for each and every sentient being, so that's worth a value. That fulfills the value requirement. So if you use it for your own personal gain without the altruistic mindset, it does amount to moral downfall for the monks and nuns, right? So that's the second opinion. Then the third opinion is, again, they said, no, it won't amount to moral downfall. So there's two of them, right? And the reason being given is the way moral downfall is described is that you have to take or steal something that belongs to others, right? Others have that sense of ownership, right? This belongs to me, and you took it from me, right? So in this particular case, they said there is no sense of ownership from the others, right? I mean, sentient beings don't think that now everything belongs to me now, right? So you don't have anything, So because they don't have that sense of ownership, so therefore, if you happen to use it for your own sake, it does not amount to the moral downfall or breaking the root vows. Are you with me? So we have three views expressed, two of them on the same side. They said it does not amount to moral downfall, but give different reasons. But the one says it does, because you dedicated everything you have for each and every sentient being. That's worth, something, isn't it? So when you use it for your own gain, so it amounts to moral downfalls. No.
공반의 민주화를 사바타바니 생각이 대장티 렉네 다스미 가서 현재만 되시니 랑동도 레바라 린다사나 네 판봉 오늘 될라 공무소 스타들 단다 랑룩 되래다 다데 카지 되서 다 카지 니기서는 판바짠의 용화요 말이 신인 지세 저와 카지 찍이서 양 린다사는 거기에 판바 용거를 쓰라로와 어다 融了大口对那人家上那方把口对那用头嘛的是，可是大数的线了没了我不些，你的我在可能个线不些，他你们真的上这样的是这位是说些，非老话嘛这的家庭嘛我要嘛的，我这搞说是，这搞说的呢，所有的农界不因呐，因怕把用过这。
아, 파종은 학원에 다
학원
제대로 와.
학원 다 그거 대소 삼대 여러와.
라데.
그 삼대가 그거 맞지. 이제 냐더니 이때고 세니 유령 맞지 양동이 뭐야. 이제 서로 셰데 이제 정도디 거에만 뒤시는 대 거에만 뒤시는 세월도 양. 그때 사와 제시 소소이만 뒤시는 지금 말이야. 그때 사와 하고 하지 뒤건 인수 농치와 있나? 인 파마 연구래. 에스다 파마 연구 깝지요. 그래서 내가 상세를 연구 말이지. 이제 메인 조합할 때 인 그런 제와 하고 인 디디지 소소 정도 농제나? 인 파마 제그래서.
So, what is our position on that? One's own system's position, right? Where do we stand, so to speak, right? Our position is that not every case of using resources for yourself necessarily becomes a moral downfall or breaking the root vows. It does not. But there are cases or situations where that could very well be the case. And what is that situation, if you ask, is let's say, we tell somebody, right, hey, I'm dedicating this for you, okay, I'll just give it to you. Yeah? And this person thinks, okay, now you give it to me, that's being for me. And then if we use it, right, we don't give the thing to the other person, or we use it with selfish motive or the mindset, then that situation could amount to the moral downfall. Okay? Again, just reminding, it's for the monastics we're talking about, right? So it could amount to, if the other person doesn't know, we gave it to them, right, dedicated. They don't have a sense of ownership. They don't feel like, okay, you gave it to me, that's mine, right? There's no that ownership attribution. Then, in that particular case, it won't become a moral downfall. Okay? So there are situations where, according to our position, what is dedicated for others, and if others know this has been dedicated for them, they have a sense of ownership, and now if we use the thing for our own personal gain, then it could amount to moral downfall or breaking the root vows, right?
대체 대화신이 로서 마와양 메테도스다 대운자 가서 대화신 답대 추주의 대면로 먼저 그 대화디 시타주 여마 시거와 시타 다다딜라디 시야디 시타주 여마 말이 현다레스 가지지 시대신 유사라 대화 말에서다 시타주 여마 로리나 다대시야나 이시 리나상 그다 송대는 판바제기 이 대화 현다 파카팡 말에서다.
And then some critics say that what has been talked about here doesn't amount to the moral transgression or the downfall, because that's that this is according to some other tradition, maybe, right, Vinaya, but not according to our tradition. I think the Tibetan Buddhist Vinaya or the monastic tradition is called Shitamja Yobarmawa. I think it's called Mula Sarvastivadin tradition. Then there is a Siddhavara tradition, something else. Right? So some critics say, no, according to this other tradition, maybe it's a moral downfall, but not in our case. So therefore, we don't regard it as. But here, Jetamuchi said, no, you can't make that an excuse. It's not, it's not a proper explanation.
심지어 그런 게 롱주라 그 동서냐면 저는 예바 메디세 근데 롱주 제라는 이거 지금 마다면로 힘이 가도
인지나는 게 하고 무도게
롱주 되죠 심지 그래서 롱기 롱주 제라 그 동서는 롱주를 쓰는 다다 도도야 그래서 그런 롱주라 그래서 심지 그런 롱주라 에는 코요토니 엔디 차오냐니 제는 예바 메디스 다 디스로 그래 강가 소소 당샤데 심지를 바 당사다 इन सिमसी कोना तो ता सोजो पे जोवसिन को के चल पाजेया दिरे निगा इन का पांगो सावेना 롱주어 고가 को सोजो हिसान को 동시야 요 말와 그 동시야 돈다라 인 소जो 롱제나 인 델 예바 요 말에서
So what is being stated here is that even though we have dedicated, let's assume we have, everything we have for the benefit of others, but in order to sustain our lives so that we can, right, promote their well-being and work for them continuously, in that kind of a situation, when we have the need to use our resources, then that does not amount to moral transgression. Okay? As a matter of fact, let's say we are in a dire situation where we don't use the resources and we are going to die, right? In that particular case, then it's even detrimental, because if we die, then we can't continue to work for the well-being of sentient beings, right? Because that's our interest. We want to benefit sentient beings as much as we can, and for whatever period of time. So we can't, how should I say, let ourselves die. Not because we said, I give everything to you and I'm going to die of starvation because I don't own anything. You just, that's not the right mindset. Actually, we should think that, okay, I need to use resources in order to sustain my life so that I will be able to continue to benefit and work for you. With that mindset, if we use the resources, it does not amount to moral downfall or transgression.
Dombe Pajin Juguena, any by Karsa Hel Musa, ready, Sena, call Lungje or yes. Or the Lungjen and Yeva Yomers, Carson call that Suzu Lud of their soya, don't that Luniche go, Suzu Lunju Gangani Hel Bagosara, Mango did high Omarwa, so that Lungia Mevasha, but today in the Lungia with the Carson and the Givu Tend of Gina. 요거에는 딱고 제가 고야가 사야가 기본 되는 것도 그런 가가 요마르마 이시다티 디네 딱고 사야가 고야 가르고 디네 지기를 뭐 디네 예와요 마라 디네 지고
So in the middle of page 120, we find a passage quoted from the Compendium of Trainings. So that gives us an example here, which is that even though we have dedicated everything for and to others, but in order to sustain our lives so that we can continue to benefit others, there is no harm in using the resources, right, to sustain our life. It does not amount to moral transgression. It's just like the example given in that compendium training is, those who work for kings, right? And so when they go to do their task, whatever, they have to eat, they have to, use the resources. But the resources really belong to the kings, don't belong to them. But they are working for the king, right? So they don't have to ask every time to the king, like, can I eat now, right? Because I'm hungry. No, you don't, because it is understood, right? You're working for him, and you need to eat in order to, do your job. So that does not amount to stealing, right? People who work for king, right, when they use resources working for the king, does not amount to stealing. In the same way, even though we have dedicated everything for others, which means in some sense we don't own anything, right? Everything belongs to others, but we use it in order to sustain our life and to fulfill our goal of benefiting the others.
Ti mano jena nyewan jure nyang ti jome de ti ni le hindu jiu tong de zhen bi chen ji jiu no la so bi se nyawe lo jin ji no me ba jie ji ni ba me de xie so se ti da yu jie ge ge fa ni sim jie ba guo sa ro de guo sa zhen en so so long jien de ti ni ba ju ge ro wa da ka ji zhe ba ro wa o ti zhong yo ma le 근데 다 예버들 나디는 다 예버 요버 요거와 이거 주고도 다디 요제로 가게 예버 마디시 카드 그 거야도 그러 요거 디시오 거와 어디시 심지는 봐 되고 말와 가사디 예버 되고 말와 어디 나이 롱지와 나이 이 심지는 돈도 가라 레가지 셰베 인자 그 롱지도 심지는 엉거유는 용요 말에 그 레가지 심지는 돈시 거와 어디서
So our critique still states the view that once you have mentally dedicated everything for others, now if you use it for yourself, then you are really kind of breaking that promise, or your dedication is not valid, so to speak. And again, the response to that is if we use the resources dedicated to others with the mindset that we're using it in order to benefit them more or continue to benefit them, then it does not amount to any fault or any transgression. And another example given is just like, if the king, is sick or something, right? And then the servants or whoever taking care of him, caretakers, need to make their decisions, resources to work for the king and keep him alive or something. That does not amount to any kind of a stealing or anything from their part, because they are doing everything in order to, help the king to recover, or because he's not in a situation to make any decisions. You can't ask him, right? So it's the same way that with the mindset to benefit others, if we use the resources already dedicated for them, it does not amount to moral transgression.
심진라 탐지 메더는 르동도 준드나 텐도라 닝보모디 냥디 엔디 세 마데바 메샤데 팅일레 랍디리 테더제베 청주스베 테두 가시기 데코나 메르바 마데바 샤와 미리데 동에 심 모자르 쳔보진 용수 시비 셔로스 어디에 다다 데려왔다 심지 탐지 방을 인디 상무부게 동료시네 롱 소소소도 제대야로 소소파 카즘 책좀 소진 줘서 더버서가 이사라 어디서 지제네 즈바도 샤고 말했지 롱제디 소소 제되고 인디 때야 말했네 인디 즈바도 샤고 줘서네 인디 즈바 샤고 말했지 럽디 데서 했지 그 땅 말했지 신나 그 강가 땅야 비 심주그 비게 르땅 터디 시작에는 뭐서 심부래스 딜 마데 비제요 말했지 또 동야도 그 갑가리야 또뭐 텀벌리는 벌써 중반고 샤자 동하지와라 내 당고 벌써 동거부터 강가 대지 뭐잖아 강가 대지 뒤질 때 동거라 어디서 왔다 시들 디코라 무슨 마다나는 그런 세문날 삼박의 흉 되게 요데 희붕 와서 그래 시들 되게 마디 비제요 말해서 왔다
to the bottom of page 120, where we have a passage quoted from Compendium of Trainings. An explanation given with regard to that is, I think there's still, someone being critical about what is being taught about here. It's just like, if you say that you dedicated everything for others, and then you're using it for yourself, that sounds like a lip service. You really did not give or dedicate, right? I mean, in reality, you are eating it, you are using it, right? You are really not giving them, but you said you dedicated for them, so it looks like a lip service. This is not working, right? Because that's what a critic thinks, okay? And the response to that, based upon the Compendium of Training, is that when someone has most sincerely, right, in his or her heart, dedicated everything for the others, that mind to give, dedication itself is a very amazing thing. We should really learn to appreciate that, even though at the moment, he or she is not giving everything to others, or is not in the right time and situation to do that, right? As we said, what's important in the practice of generosity, especially at our stage, is training our mind, really wanting to give it, not faking it out or not pretending to give or not, look nice kind of thing. No, really wanting to give, the generous heart, right? And training our mind, that's very important, because sometimes it depends on the situations and abilities, whether we could really give or not, right? As our abilities get improved, at a very high level of realizations, even they are ready to give their families, if need be, to the others, right? They give the wife and the husband and the children and everything, like take my body, right? But of course, we are not there yet, right? That's a crazy thing to do, when you are not ready. So it depends, right? The need, the situations, the circumstances, your ability to give, all of those things. So having dedicated everything for others doesn't mean that you have to give everything now, this very moment, so that you don't own anything. That's not the sense of giving. What's important is really, developing the sincere wish, the authentic wish to give.
수들은 가시기 샤와 미릭소스 다 데레 가지 내는 파동야 매베 비게 심기 땅에 뭐가 지고 셴네 이 비게 현당 비게 문에 잘 카요라 락발래야 매브디도 셴네 표현이지 말아도 텐데 태좀 사고 말했지.
Nice.
그 동성 왔다 젠디에 아니 그 rem기야 펠도 그랬지.
Right.
this is
Right. So if somebody, doubts about the practice of generosity, like, oh, so you are really not giving anything, you're just kind of playing a game here, or to give, like I give you, but I'm not giving you, right? What's the use of that benefit? It seems like a useless, a practice. So the explanation given is no. If you truly train your mind to give, that is an amazing thing. Generating the spirit to give, right, and expanding your heart to give. That is truly amazing wonder, and we must not undermine the power of that mindset, and we must learn to appreciate it. We should not say that. What's the point of training your mind in that? Anyway, you're not giving anything right now, right? Don't be overly critical about that.
다 숨바 지베라디요 숨세 땡탐지기 시다셔 땡소도 제베라비에다 지베랑고 라비요 오세 어디다 지베라디 지베여와 가제서는 땡탐지 시다셔 와서다 랍중다 힘바카나 강게 지당 직세 다냥 침바 있는 디시 우리 랍중은 디시 되게 지베라중 여여와 딩인셰라 지바랑 ngura디요. 다 그런 지바 코나 ngura들 지바 가세요. 그래서 어디에 사실은 숨유에서 거다.
So at the bottom of page 120, those who have got the actual book or the e-version of the book, so we have the next sub-point, which reads the divisions of generosity. And so that is explained under three sub-points. Point number one is how everyone should practice generosity. Point number two is divisions of generosity relative to particular persons. What that means is, depending upon who you are you monastics or are you ordinary lay people, right? And so the practice of generosity sometimes might be, different, and depending upon your status of being, so to speak. And then the actual types of generosity or the divisions of generosity.
다 탐지시야 됩니다. 정말 담바 중대의 샤웨에 땡담 다들 담바 중대에서 파지 중대에서 디가가 되다 가지 저주심에 지명 온데 시고를 뭐 현재 지금 가가 되고 그래서 말마 그 디스고다 담바 중대의 샤와는 땡담바세데 저주심 신선의 가지 땡담바스다 저주심 세베고 지와도는 땡담바지로와 다 고바 담바지데 지진병고 멀리 줘봐인라 제발 나라 주바나 디삼바 마도 왔을 제당베 강가 유지 강가 베게 현 뭐 살세 옛날 카드고 달롱게서 깝고 가들려서나 얘네 둘러져서 사야져서 네가 가져서 디가 깝깔이야 다리다 네가 되게 세되게도 세 그어되게 되어서 디파 디게 희생이 되게 디셔한 지어버렸어 다만 이바들어
네.
어디래 가서 누가 주바워서 체드 자와 담반네 심제 담제라 테드 되와도 포드 펜베시 실동하고서 로 어디다 동야데 동야데 양 심제 노야 되는 동야요 말아 배는 영발 데트야 저보다 독대야 소리되는 때야요 말아 그래서 그 심제들이야 테드 펜바 가서 되와다 포드 펜바 되게다 현재 탑이고 내가 그거비게다 가연에 로고 타동도디야 장주고 길 줘야 그거 디저성도 때고 그랬어. 알리 디솜디 송나 야무도
We're on top of page 121. The first sub-point caption reads, how everyone should practice it. So how everyone should practice it, meaning generosity. Here we are talking about the generosity of bodhisattvas, right? Bodhisattvas' practice of generosity, not any other kind of generosity or giving, if you will, and which is characterized by, we called the sixth supremacies. Now, I don't know whether I like the word supremacy. Anyway, six sublime qualities, let me put it, right? Tamba Trungden. Tamba means sublime, virtuous qualities. And so what are they? The first sublime qualities is called supreme basis or the sublime basis. What this means is bodhisattva's giving is characterized by bodhicitta, right? Bodhicitta as a motivation. So that is a sublime quality that characterizes Bodhisattva's giving. The second one is, for lack of a better word, supreme things, as translated here, which is to do with, like once you have dedicated everything for others, when different situations arises, like somebody asks for food, somebody asks for clothing, somebody asks for housing, right? According to the situation and the need, then you should be able to give it, right? That's what the Bodhisattvas do. Whatever is needed, provided that need is not dangerous or hurtful to them, then they give it, right? That's called supreme things. And then the next one is called supreme aim. While I'm criticizing this translation, I have to use the same words. So what a paradox of life here. Because I don't have a better word. The sublime aim or the supreme aim is Bodhisattva's, giving is goal-oriented giving, in the sense that they wanted to bring both temporary and ultimate benefits to sentient beings. Right? Temporary, whatever temporary needs need to be met, they're able to do that. Ultimately, they want to guide and lead them to find a complete enlightened state. Right? That's the ultimate, goal of giving, Bodhisattva's action. So even to fulfill temporary needs, Bodhisattvas use their wisdom. Right? That if a crazy person asks for a knife or a gun or something, you are not going to give it, right? I mean, ting, 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 right? So Bodhisattvas know, even though the person is asking, or somebody asks for a poison or something, Bodhisattvas are smart not to give the poison to the person. Okay? But other things that's not harmful and damaging to them, Bodhisattvas do give them. So those are three sublime qualities we just talked about, right? Supreme basis, the sublime basis. Sublime things or supreme things, supreme aim or the sublime goal or the aim.
ene geza khare na to do vechere simbetela ene geza to sha sha ro oti shani ja ta oti she ta ngowa ta mane tang ye gwa zo zhen de wo se da tang ze gwa de bi ge zo zhen de ngo na ene bi ge de bu de yu ren bo long jia yo se de wa oti shani geza me se bi zo zhen de ngowa ta ba she go re se ta number ta ba ne Nyumu the Shitim Gobate, Tikpasim Budivali Shadow said that number Taba said in the tea Tambi Gausa, in the Nyumu down Kajaka, Gulum, the Jones and the Mangu picking on it and the Shoni Sheva Nahi, or Yakutang in the Telayati or say, number Taba said in this or there. Tikpasim Budivali Shadows, the Papa Tommy Tidu Sajara, or Tini Song Shasu. What is that Tambatung did the Zos?
Okay, and the tabla keba tamba said the chanju sembeki
number mido to be here to you so la to you so to number mido was na to you so to
장선 파고 샤다 송데 그죠
다 레디 지난 건설 잖아 이 돈이 더 해라 시리스 영제 치바자도 다 코로나 마시오니서 ini number mido 이게 세야 주더라 제를 뭐지 레 타고 잖아 이 돈이 더 해라 시고래
So back to page 121, right on the top, paragraph 1, somewhere in the middle. And so we are counting what is called the 6 sublime qualities, or the 6 supremacies. So now the next one is the supreme skillful means, or the sublime method, or the upaya, skillful means. So what that means is that bodhisattvas here, their practice of generosity is, I should say, characterized by non-conceptual understanding of emptiness. Okay, so I was double checking it, right? Because non-conceptual understanding means somebody who has direct insight into emptiness. Okay, and that's why their generosity is, in some sense superior to some other forms of generosity. And as Lama Tsongkhapa Rinpoche explains, for ordinary beings like us, right, we don't have the direct realization of emptiness. And so what it means is when we practice generosity, we should reflect on the emptiness nature of, right, everything involved in giving, right? And so that is like similar to Bodhisattva's practice of generosity. But Bodhisattvas here looks like we are talking about Arya Bodhisattvas or transcendental Bodhisattvas who have a direct insight into non-conceptual realization of emptiness that goes with generosity. That's called skillful means, okay? And then the next one is sublime dedication or supreme dedication, which means everything Bodhisattvas do, they dedicate it, for sentient beings to become enlightened beings eventually. So that's their, ultimate wish for sentient beings. So that is a supreme dedication. And then the last sublime quality is called supreme purity, which means Bodhisattvas in their giving, they check with their motivation and everything, right? Everything is done with the purest of heart, if you will. There is no hidden agenda here, right? There is no some kind of a hypocritical, things going on, right, inside. It's just, a pure thought of giving. So therefore, that's called supreme purity. So those are called the 6 sublime qualities or the 6 supremacies, Thamba Chugden in Tibetan, that characterize Bodhisattva's generosity.
어디 다 담바 중다 파지 중대세 파지 중대의 차와네 최이데 맞아 시에라 시바나 니랑게 이시 돈비 쓰름당 남진이 최를 매외 쇠발 서발 현지 시와 쇠바다 tinyi kondi pe she dimba jewe she zongzhui dang ode sigo da karsa paji chungde seya de la chue yi ba da da jing xin na chue yi de ba da chue xin nan de wa de chue ma yen de ga chue de tebe ga chue yi be kong zhu shi ba she ba ni rang yi de be che zheng si de zang de sigo da so so be ge rong dong yi xi lo ge de ma le xin de ga xie si bi ta bi de de zhou shang wo ya to ya dong ji ya wo de sam che zheng de xie 다 남진 쇼를 아니 뭐신 쇠라시 다 아니 그게 상지 고마터야 심지 탐지 돈 상지 고마터발라 아니 그래서 계제 상면서 소사로 디데 사고는 아니 깔린도 디데 야 미소 많이 봐 디데 쇠 통계시 다 디데 랭갈이야 아니 그게 저와 가가 심지 저거라 지고다 심지다 뭔게 무슨 그게 지시당으로 가서 놓나 딜파이 희와 신인사 봐봐 쇠도 구거래시 어디 쇠도발래 근데 텔 가지고 와서 존중고 그래서 다 봐. 정주주밖에 뭐 장면성 소사 존중고 그러와. 다 심지에 되게 수입에 가자 시와라서 디 늘레 메제 받 세바고 그러. 어디 다데 솜 리마레. 저 담보 텔 세dim시 인 세바시. 어디 존중 섬래도 와.
In the second paragraph from the top on page 121, where there is mention about how bodhisattvas incorporate all other perfections within each perfection, right? So when they practice one of the 6 perfections, it is like integrated practice because it includes all other perfections. And so how is that? If we think about that, so when they are practicing generosity of any kind, let's say the generosity of giving dharma, yes, which means you could give actual teaching or you can give some good dharma advice, right? That's still giving dharma. So that time bodhisattvas check their motivation to see that their giving is not due to some selfish motives or just wishing to find their own peace or liberation. Their motivations is to benefit all sentient beings and find enlightenment for everybody. So that is like a part of their morality practice, and because they discipline their mind that they're doing everything for sentient beings, not just for their own gain. And then when they actually engage in the practice of generosity, they face a lot of hardships. So they need the tolerance of patience to put up with the difficulties, right? Especially, sentient beings might, behave, unkindly towards you, right? Some sentient beings might complain that, but all can say you're not giving the right thing, and what is this useless thing you're giving? I don't know. They can abuse you verbally, and they can yakade do whatever. So you really need a lot of patience, right? Even though you're kind to them, they're still yakking at you. So you need a lot of patience there. That's how they incorporate the practice of patience. And then bodhisattvas also know that it might take a while to become enlightened. So sometimes we talk about 3 countless eons, right? That's a long time to be enlightened. So this requires a lot of enthusiastic perseverance. You really need to inspire and boost up your spirit, right, to stay on track and find your goal. So this is how morality, ethics, patience or tolerance, and enthusiasms are incorporated together with a generosity.
어디 가서 다 되네 가서 팅면당 만데베 심자지위 겨와데 조정데 뭐에 3대당 팅면당 만데베 세네 데레 다 간제 비게 가서 런도 이제 다 심제도 비게 상제 살고 마도지 비게 팅면 상지를 고야서 겨와 가지 타두그러데 조정 오고 그래서와 제제 다 진짜 레버버 남 코스미메서 기마다 비히베 히라 데 상황现现在到现在是的呢也都没这些的送说是我的他拍起中间的他把中间的如果是个什么移动这些些的送是吧我的他
And bodhisattvas are single-pointedly dedicated to finding their the ultimate goal, which is enlightenment. Right? They're doing everything, including generosity practice, to benefit sentient beings and to be enlightened for their sake, to help them being enlightened. So they are very focused. They do not deviate from that single-pointedness. They're like, no, I'm kind of tired and I'm going to go my liberation way, right? No, they don't. They just, stick to their goal. So that's the single-pointedness mentality they bring into their practice. And then they also reflect on the ultimate nature, emptiness nature of all the things involved in the practice of giving, right? What is being given, and who is giving it, to whom it is given, who is receiving it. So everything is seen as like an illusion, right? There is no intrinsic substance to everything. Everything is in the nature of illusion, and they reflect on the emptiness nature of this giving, which is the wisdom part. So this is how all other perfections are integrated together with the practice of giving. And all of these things are explained by the great Indian master Haribhadra in the text called Long Explanation of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra in 8,000 lines. There is 8,000 Paramita Sutras. There is an explanation about that by Haribhadra, and we find this explained in Haribhadra's work.
Any karsa di parji chungde xia di da jimbak pige da ce de bu ya dingma de ce long mo de ti ge je xiu ro wa ji de ma ta au jimbak ganga yin di de ko jimbak de la len ta so mo de ji ga ta di de su yu de cha wa ro ta ti to yu de xiu ro wa ta ti ba ga de na ji pige ga de ji na je shung na di de ju wo ma shung na de shung de ti mo na di de de ti de dam ga yo ro ti na yi so ya ro ya ta mo ko
So what we just talked about are 2 things here. How bodhisattvas, giving, for example, is characterized by 6 sublime qualities or supremacies, and how bodhisattvas, practice all 6 perfections together, right? And we use the generosity as an example. But this is really setting the highest standards, right? And if we want to practice the generosity up to that standard level, and this is how it all should be. Now, if we are not able to practice at that level, it does not mean that we are not practicing generosity, right? Because there are all many choices depending upon our abilities to practice this and that, right? So we must not feel discouraged as if like, oh my gosh, right? When can I ever do that, right? And everything I'm doing is not there, really. Now, maybe my practice is useless. No, don't make that a wrong conclusion, judgment, right? This is the standard. This is the golden standard here, bodhisattvas, right? And that's our aspiration. Even if we couldn't do it right now, whatever we are doing, we are just kind of moving towards that, right?
다 세심만이 성대에는 상지에 고마 되는 박송도 와.
No.
다들 소소 로이 방도 시야로 와.
Not really.
그래.
No. Of course, for what we do becomes what is called the spiritual practice, the Dharma practice. We can't, think just for this lifetime, right? If we do anything to benefit just this lifetime only, then it does not even become Dharma, right? So that's really, there's no excuse to that. But if we say that I want to practice Dharma, right? So it is really aimed for the betterment of future lives, right? That's the definition of spirituality or Dharma, right? Given. Now, there are different goals depending upon our aspirations and abilities, right? We might be seeking fortunate rebirth in our next life and then do our practice towards that end. That's the Dharma practice. Or maybe we want to find freedom from samsara. That's our goal. Well, that's the Dharma practice. Or we want to pursue enlightenment for the sake of the whole universe, everybody. That's Dharma practice, right? So those are three different levels depending upon our interests, aspirations, and abilities, right? But we must see that everything we do really is for the betterment of future lives, not for this, life's, goals and aspirations,
你把节日上这个叫吧，他连说说是节日上这个节把千百相就是相生的写吧，写了相生绕中个学一节把小送的，相生的说说他话嘞，写里不小就是被千把看个上一先看个里起码他如果那对绕的讲的第一性把他说要做个上节。那么我为下里不绕的时候就相就是把看个，这些呗，这些吧，现在呢，天嘞，说些忙的接的，下里不第一性呗，那绕的时候呢，上这个金巴小忙那我写说啥，但是当时呢，因为金巴的金巴做因啥叫了哇，这个是这下了哇，现在这个是呢，个啥下里不他的因为做的看的是呢，这是我的下里不的。小就是吧，这啥，清白这个，你看个龙什么意思呢？他看个龙是那的修不的，看个龙是叫做名的哇。他第什么意思？第六章个的什么东西给着哇？这个是他什么修什么干什当的这个哇？然后说这个自己这个缺点呢，我得说明下要的，因为入境这已经被上升什么当过要嘛的，所以偏多呀，都缺个什么都这些我说，我这说是吧？
So towards the bottom of page 121, the next subpoint reads divisions of generosity relative to particular persons. And so what was stated there is, and what kind of generosity is kind of recommended for lay practitioners and for monastic practitioners, so to speak, right? And so Buddha has actually recommended the generosity of material giving, gift giving, towards the lay people. Okay? And the generosity of giving Dharma teaching recommended for the monastics, right? And so it is stated here, we have a passage quoted from Bodhisattva's Vows of Liberation, where it stated, I think Buddha is telling Shariputra, saying, hey, Shariputra, listen here, that if a monastic bodhisattva, it's understanding, right, gives one standard teaching, right, just one standard teaching to others, that gift giving is much more meritorious and virtuous than a lay bodhisattva, so to speak, or lay practitioner, who gives a tremendous material giving that is equal to the sand grains of the great ocean, right? River Ganges means actually another expression to say the great ocean, right? So how many sand grains are there at the ocean, the beach, right? Who counts it? There's a lot. So even if lay practitioners were to dedicate and give that much material gift giving, right, that would be less meritorious than a monastic practitioner who gives out of pure heart one standard teaching, right?
对的，他这个是他基本的，基本个人就给你上次基本当我们的谁地头地头就对不对？这样特别了是跑就的就完了，光把老对了，老对了，绕的学位上星期写的作呢，写的作呢，经常写我搞个，让给写完了，明年把梦有所能去推梦的人呢。 上升动物个吧松说是，我的然后就那上升动物嘛是开始是，但上升人别去的，可是说的从家这我大概开始的抽着就要这提起肉的咱听见多了呀，你别开始在公这不听那别马到忙活这个是吧？叫这些呀，这我长把些呀，这我喜欢这个是吧？我提这个当大现在。一把都要的挪着呢，一把当着嘛，手嘛的这，所以别我有少弄个当我过来，这头一嘛些呢，你就去不得往不要了，我的那一把当我也是，我的是的。
So on top of page 122, a passage referred to the compendium training stated, when Buddha recommended the generosity of giving teaching to the monks, Buddha did not prohibit the monks and nuns, right, from the generosity of material gift giving. Okay? And if a monk or nun, happens to own a lot of riches in resources, which is possible, right? There are those. Well, then they should really practice the gift giving of material gifts. But what Buddha meant by that, when he made the recommendation, is, don't, create an obstacle for your study and practice and meditation, right? As if like, okay, now I have to practice generosity, so I must do some business, right? Now I should just stop studying and I should do some puja and chanting, right? So that I make money. And no, he said, that's not needed. Monks and nuns, you don't need to, right? Buddha said, well, if you happen to be rich, because of your good karma and merit from the past life, you should obviously give the material giving. But don't stop your study and practice as if you have to go and do business and you have to do the chanting and the puja to make money so that you can give giving. That's not the right way to do it, right? So that's the understanding. It doesn't mean that the lay people don't practice the giving of teaching or the monks don't practice the giving of material gift. It's just, the recommendation is based on a sound basis.
Anh riêng về những người chưa vào yên sông đấy, rồi chúng cái sát thang thang từ nốt dễ hình, sao nó sử dụng là mà mong du sông đấy, chỉ bắt đầu là sẽ mấy cái về tam mốt, ở đây ta sẽ ta sát vào cái chỉ bắt phải用些的，我只会phải用些个面试，只bắt đầu nốt con rụt tiêu, thế cái nhiều người些个嘛，只bắt đầu phải用些个面来呀，đấy是，ở đây cái là sẽ 근데 너 누드단 tinham돌이 여기 참아도 망보 진제도 거라서 어디 산시에 거래서.
So on top of page 122, one of the great Kadamba Geshes by the name of Geshe Sharawa, and he said, I really don't talk about the benefits of giving, I think probably to the monastic community, but I talk about the problems, of involved in accumulating wealth. Okay, because problems accumulating wealth involves like hypocrisy and then cheating and lying a little bit here and just all these misbehaviors and sometimes even breaking your vows to do that. And he said, so I don't talk about the benefits of giving. I just talk to you about the problems accumulating wealth requires, right? So Geshe Sharava has a big lesson for the monastic practitioners. So we will stop there today and we welcome your questions and observations. Page 122, volume 2.
Questions, anyone?
Yeah.
Hi. Regarding giving things away, I'm wondering if one of these teachings is kind of culture-bound or history-bound. The idea of a husband giving away his wife and children. I don't see how that could even be ethical, let alone compassionate. In our modern society, we think of individuals as everyone's an individual. Even Buddhism thinks of everyone as an individual. So how could this teaching seems to imply a sense of ownership over your wife and children. So how does that even fit with Buddhist ethics in a way?
ene nganzo ina da chutim sogor wage jigda chimda masan ko ge dugo mar wesro wage kansa na pude chungba de so le wanga yo mar ska wanga sa so wage ta wanga ke yo mar ko mi kansa so rawa da yo wage je de kala di ene je da nangbe shune 다 지금 낭미 졸라 따다하지다 증상이 좀 여러 와게 그저 참보 매버서 결과를 시작하면 간대 지고 나서
특히 피지 되면도 다 야가 너무 늦어지나 다 성사제도 전에 디 그러 되게 부모들이 다 성사제도 보tel 토부게 야가 눈에서기도 와
알아요
다른 간도 다른 말과 림부체 사실 호라 말에 지지요다 다 로지지는 와 근데 데려와 가서 이제 호라 말에 좀 데려와 가서
윤 다음에 먹을 위도 숨겨
윤 다음에 말와 윤 다음에 메라이디 같이 때도 와 저디 밀라레베 디땡이 셴스 송어로 와 그래서 내가 아메 때샤와 인스 나로와
나래
초롱알 때사로 왔어 나 초롱알 때사 휴데 니 유딩알 뭐도 니 같이 그랬어 어딜라도 되게 고마워디 자가 그러시는데 다 용조디 디 초가들 그게 언제도 콜 이렇게 생자로 와 어디다 다 등서 두두야 때 뭐되는 양 니즈하러 와 그때 다 주던데 그게 때나 근데 제기인데 제 서버도 셴니 근데 셴니 다 남다 두더면 돼 어유를 신데 되고 말이 다 저런 정말이네 저는 제가 제기인시
알아요
어디 수다 디키로 서비스로 셰세 집에 바지로 마지로 인다 맨서는 거기 말아
몰라래
서비스는 되셔로 되면 어유신 시야서 되는 말이지
So Geshe thinks, yeah, maybe we have to really think about, some of those things. How that could, in what ways that becomes a paradoxical things about today's, ethics and practice and mindset. I think because Buddhism, happened in India centuries ago, and so it was very much based upon the Indian culture and the context, And today, as you say, here, like even if you are married, right, the husband and wife don't own each other, right? You are independent individuals. You just decided to be together. But in that cultural context, that tradition, I think in India, it seems like, the once the wife got married, it is as if like she belongs to the husband, So that may not be relevant at all today, right? But that's the context in which. For example, maybe that kind of a tradition is somehow, in some way, like in the Lama Marba's life story, right? We look at the Marba, the great translator, right? And so when Miller Rabba came to study with him, he gave a really hard time to Miller Rabba, right? Pretty much drove him crazy. And then the Marba's wife, Dagme took really compassion on Miller Rabba, and because the Marba insisted, like, you should bring some gift for teaching. You just can't empty hand, right? Miller was poor; he has nothing, and so one day, the Marba's wife gave her turquoise to Miller Rabba, said, "You should give this and then request for the teaching." And then Marba said, "How? Where did you get this turquoise?" And he was very honest. He said, "Well, your wife gave it to me." Then Marba got so mad, like. And he just kind of, admonished the wife. Like, how come I never knew about that turquoise you have, right? He said, no, this my parents gave me. Like, in case we divorce, I should have something right in my hand. Right? He said, no, you can't talk about that. When you marry, you belong to me. How come this turquoise doesn't belong to me? Just don't give me this BS, right? So he just basically. So that kind of a context situation, right? Sometimes those teachings probably are given. But then that being said, even in the case of a highly realized beings, who we said they give their families, everybody for the benefit of others, I think it's not out of a force or like manipulation. They do check with their children or the wife or the husband, right? There's somebody who really needs you more than I do. So I really am asking you, would you like to go with him or her, right? I'm really totally letting go of you. So if husband and wife says, yes, I'm willing to, then it's given. If they say no, how dare you say that to me, then they don't give, they can't give, right? So all those things are there, right? So I think we have to really think about, so those, as I said, the different cultural contexts and morality issues, things like that. Yeah. Yes, could you use the mic? Yeah.
Excuse me, it's just I need clarification because I didn't understand everything. Just for the 6 virtuous qualities, the first one was, what was the name? You said supreme. The second was spring things.
Okay.
The third, spring
Yes.
hymn.
Right.
And then the 6th, sublime method. The 5th, spring dedication. The 6th, spring
Right.
purity.
Okay.
And just the first one.
Okay, the first one, they call it
Thank you.
spring basis, like basis. I call it sublime basis. What it means is that bodhisattvas have this altruistic mindset, right? Bodhicitta. So that's called the spring basis, right? With which they can give everything, right? So you have the rest of the others, right? Yes. Okay, very good. Tagi tambat tuune chiksam do andi labro chis la bin bagge. Could you give to Latmir or anybody? Yeah.
I have a question about this, the explanation about on page 119. If you use food, clothes, shelter, and so on, that you have sincerely given away to the second paragraph from the bottom.
So what's the question?
The question is, if someone has who has taken a bodhisattva vows, have they actually given away all that to others? Does the taking of the bodhisattva vow entails giving away everything? So because of that, if somebody who has taken the bodhisattva vows and uses all these things without the thought that they're using them for others, then they're breaking that.
Okay. Dandagen dadagi disumba rowagen karso gore da chanju chugwe xian li yang ngwe bi na rowagen ngwe bi da xian duen ge sanbe ge ne peje chebe na ko tongwa jugo yo ma rang de sanbe chen tongwa jugo song ya rowagen da ji karso gore sego lo sob garin ne rowagen se di danda ganju chanju sembe noma shugo rowagen chanju sembe noma shube ine rowa danda di daga di deyo chago rowa sa je da so so li garu ye ba rowa lu long de kangal xian long over rowa di peje chidio gala xian ge samlo tang ma je be na andi tongwa jue di chago ro sa chanju sembe ngoma ma yu je rowa chanju sembe noma lende noma le ma kansa la
dinela da niba de jugo de so
da samlo danda di she de jugo ro so
da de ganje chanju sembe ngone jugdum tao yue na 다 등원은 주고 있기로와 다 영 주도 배 타면 그때 휴자위나 가지 예바지 타고 다 가지 나글마다 예바 타고라 예바 시중 배우시로와 저승원에 장당원에 장선인데 예를 승리대 배치와 나가 담바도 주는 정동 량바의 정주승원에 깨고 버저 송도 왔다 라른 치문나래 아니 주동 랑데 아니 정주승 장바서야 누모도 현대 페이지 다들 정주雄资간가 정주승 때보고 써야지 와
다 진짜 원해를 시대
원해서 거다 때보 원해 마겐 때모셔야 말봐 어디가 다 가지게 되면 다 알레 마겐나나 다 등산 페이지 심군이 매베다 온 다 제도와 다 지어도시다 디온도시나 다 예바 다기 시와네 차단 주면 예바 주고 꼭 계란시 배용시가 도고라고 다 저승원에 말이나 꼭 계란시 그런 빠져 배용시 도고라 다 배용될 밥이 예바 대중으로 와다 저승원 난기도 좀 말와
So what Geshe says is, I mean, maybe we did mention this some other day, how Lama Tsongkhapa's approach explaining things in the Lamrim is different from what he has done in other works. In many other works, really, these things are explained in terms of who are real bodhisattvas, right? Who have a firm bodhicitta mind. Firm means you should have it, otherwise there's nothing to talk about firm or not firm, right? You don't have it. But here, sometimes Buddha says, in those who have taken the engaging vows of bodhisattvas, right, and they can train their mind. So Geshe feels that those who have taken the bodhisattva engaging vows, right, we might get a similitudes of both benefits and the transgression, right? Because we have taken the vows, we are really in our minds are dedicated for the others. So when we use it, we should use it with that mind to benefit others. If we don't do that, we may not get the actual transgression of the vows, but something similar to that, right? Because our benefits are not exactly like the bodhisattva's benefits, but in the same way, our transgressions are, right? Not exactly as serious as bodhisattvas. So, but there are similitudes of that. Yeah.
Geshe is saying that even for ordinary beings, like ourselves.
Right.
Any day when we put on our clothes or drive our car or do everything
Right.
without that thought,
Right. Without that
then
thought, right? That's the
they're
mantra.
incurring some kind of a
Sure.
transgression.
Right. that's an anzo ke anzo soro da ji changdo mangbu shu ro wa ge
어디
ani shoga ya lang du ne da ji tu lo kan ba ine ra mo ta tang ge ye ne ka che me ro wa ge
어디
an ji sam lo na ma ten ba ine ro wa ge nga tu lo ko de sing ge che du kun ge sa ya de sing ge da sam ko chen ba me bin go ro wa ge ni che be na tu nga da bu sing anzo le po go yo re di ta ba chen go go ka che go re so da
당원이 전에 다 소문 능배 내가 가르치는 배 해동책이 쉬고 상도도 숨쉬고
그런经验当成的过的
그러와 그런 등에 따라 다 카드가 딱 말이 이들이 제네데 되고 말아
맞아요.
쇼배 디레 공식 서버 땅서는 님의 공기조 관가 전주 심신도 그러서도
노서
어디서 이집이 인형도 되게 배고 말아
노서
어디 가지 대상을 강 전주 쌤도 영어도 배 심지에 동시에 심중도 어디 가지 하자고 나
So in our case, Geshe thinks that, of course, if we could, often remind ourselves of our Bodhicitta motivation in everything we do, I mean, that's great training of the mind. But that seems to be almost like a difficult task, like impossible. So what is important, the Lama says, in the morning when we get up, right, if we strongly cultivate bodhicitta motivation, right, say whatever I do today, I'm really going to do it for the benefit of others, then in every action we don't remember, like I'm eating for the sentient beings, I'm now dressing up for the sentient, that's okay, right? So in the morning, if we can set a strong motivation, it might have certain influence on our actions.
I'll take this conversation a little bit,
Okay.
a little turn.
Sure.
Few years ago when Geshe was here, I think we talked about one of the higher forms of generosity is listening to someone.
What?
Giving our listening to somebody.
Giving out what?
Listening.
Oh,
We
yeah,
just
yes,
listen to
yes,
people.
yes, yes, yes.
We talked about that a few years ago when Geshe was here.
Uh-huh.
I think it was Geshe, I'm not
Okay.
pretty sure. So, and now we just talk about giving materials and what have you. And it seems to me that on a practical level, given the types of people that most of us interact with,
Right.
have everything, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the homeless person here and there, and we give them. But for the most part, it seems like practicing generosity of listening would be like a much bigger practice, given anybody can benefit from listening to them, having this issue,
Right,
that
right, right,
issue,
right.
versus that. So what does Geshe think about that?
ala kurang di sigur ta pece loka chenge la yimbe yue sa gen ta mo temba ta da so gen pece king sungjo kal di sungbe so re ko so sa ta da nganzo da chimba ta sa yo ba gen
어디
ta chimba ta sa de ta da she de ne ya ma ne jik sang sing gi chimba da bo chu gi chimba da ta mi ji bo de she de go ba gen
어디
de na ta shamba chi gi kang en shi yo be na di she so ne de la am jo ya bo chi nye me ne ba gen de pece chimbe kong ro chla ma ba gen chimbe nyam la shen am jo nye cho ba gen
어디
신기 다 뒤도 가리 셴네 지 여러 콜이야 가서 다 셈이 겹ጆ서는 미도 암조 녀셔로 와
어디
디체베네 고 침바를 치러 와게
어디
자 단데 침바세 디다 고네 고 냠는 갸스 뭐 싶신 사람 와서 안저로 차시나 방고를 치네 데 의대시 때 쪽으로 와 이 마도 다지 디 멤버 다 쉬체토요 말로 와게 그래서 고 냠는 갸스 뭐 싶차 자 지금 미 샹바지 강아요 보다 암조 야고서 녀제 콜이야로 와게 아니 제반 디 침베 냠는 거 치고 요나면서
어디 추워 다 그리 그 빼도 그 샘마 집에 지금 송니 그 나자게는 심수시나 집에 쓰지 마 누구도
나데
누구 그 지나 그 가지는 시기 줘야 돼 그지라
So I think it depends upon our attitude. Let's say if somebody really is in very difficult situation, right, sad or whatever it may be, and if we really mindfully listen to that person, right, to alleviate that particular pain or something, right, and then maybe we might share a word or two of advice, something. So that is a part of a practice of giving, generosity.
I'm clear about that. The issue is we're emphasizing the giving of material things in this particular conversation. So are we saying that the giving of material things is a higher practice or a higher form of generosity than giving of listening, or are we?
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. ala ta de kap de ya sangsing gi chimba ta pa na ge kyo zo la sangsing gi chimba de ta nga ba wa ge sa sangsing gi chimba se di chimba shamba le ane be cho de gyo bar ji shi gyo ba sa pa na ta ji mi tung ge na am jo nyang lo so de le chimba shuk che de si go ma sa sangsing gi chimba chen ya de
상승 집에서
ta ge ga zo di a wu mi na su go wa ge
상승 집에서 다 거는 그 농조 돼야 돼. 사기 통지 고용주 써야 돼 봐.
na de
어딜 상승 집에서
na
그러봐.
de
다그 세븐 편야 뒤에 가면은 뒤에 공다 거기 쉬고 쉬는 지금 진행 좀 쉬는 영고 직강에 주면은 인디 쉬고 말해서 뭐 유대히 거봐 샘디야 쉬와 차서는 쉬지 말기도.
na de di sangsing chimba le ko ya
야
ya cho wa
어디래? 근데 상승 집에 쉬면 되고 말디. 그래서 침바도 거 소소도 다 또고선 접대자 상승 배워요 봐. 뒤에서 침바도 상승 쇼도 가야 돼. 어디서 그때 쇼쇼요 봐. 라브중 것도 소심신 되고서 무슨 주는 마셔 떼야세요 말아. 어디서
So Buddha recommended the giving of material gifts for the lay practitioners, because lay people usually own something and it's more sort of they have something to give if they want to give, right? But that does not mean giving material gift is the highest form of generosity practice for them. But as a matter of fact, let's say you find a person, who, is afraid of whatever situation, right? That sense of insecurity or whatever. So if you can talk to that person and give a sense of security, right? Alleviate that fear. Actually, that form of giving is in some way higher than the material gift giving. Okay? So Buddha recommended the generosity of material giving for the lay people, because lay people usually work hard and they earn something and it's available. Whereas for the monks and nuns, they are beggars, right? You are on alms begging, so you don't have, resources to give. So you should not give up your, the vows and everything to make money and give, right? That's why it happens, right? Yeah. Okay, so if you don't, you have one more there.
So if someone has completely, truly achieved bodhicitta,
Okay.
are they still subject to acting selfishly sometimes?
Chanju the same nema ske yobe ina sro wage one thane ske yobe ina den de kang sa de gen zam zam ya rang dön yi je chab den yong sig re ba sa
저주 째네.
chanju sem ngoma ke yobe cha cha wa ine zam zam ya rang dön yi je lo je ne ine den de ta
다
la che
롱주 이제서나 다 심지어 동시 도사 말해서 계속은 비지 심지어这个 동시도 말해서 때나 시랍这个 동시도 말해서 나 상수심 동로다.
no so
다 심지어 탐지 더 봐게 아우 다 심지어
ta ne sam ba da de me ke sem je de ton de ma cha wa ta ngara de ngare ton da chik sam che wa ke
알레
din
진짜
de ki
소소도 그거 줘야
chik rang dön lo de ki gen ma rang dön lo so
때 상수심 냠도 좀 말해. 다 소소 고야도 강가 다 제제 강가 때 상수심 냠도 들리고 말아. 되게 좀 이지만
la de ke se go ji ro wa
계시겠지. 그래요.
because I was trying to clarify for that, right? Because Geshe says that someone who has developed the real bodhicitta, right? Would it be possible for that person to have what we call, selfish motive or something related to that? Because he was saying, like, if you think of like, I don't want to work for one particular sentient being, your bodhicitta is going to be forsaken, right? I said, not that one. I mean, it's like just like we think for ourselves, right? Is it possible? So Geshe thinks maybe it is possible, right? Thinking for yourself, right? Not like it's like 24 hours bodhisattva think all the time about sentient beings and benefit, right? So it's possible that a bodhisattva might sometimes have that, how should we call, doing something for himself or herself. That's possible.
Yes, because it seems like we're talking about people who've attained bodhicitta and yet are having to practice generosity. Well, why would you need to think about practicing generosity if you have no tendency towards selfishness anyway? I mean, what does bodhicitta stabilize really, actually? Why would you need all of these other practices if you've already attained a completely non-selfish state of being?
Oh, I see. Ala Quran di samde do wage ta pena je changju semngo ske yoba ina ro wage ta rangdo yi je lo kang ka na meb che ro wage je to rangjo lo meb che do kala ani tanda kar so gore nga ju chimbe pharjin sa jo ro wage de nyamlen che ko kar cha do re sa ko kan rangdo yi je lo kala yo ma ro wage che do kala ani chimbe pharjin ke kar so de ji pa tang de jo ro wage che ko lo tang sa ro sa da ji chimbe nyamlen kar jin che ko so digi kar so da 전주생 냠나 갈 핑크 쓰면로게
뭐 this word 그 다다 그거 땅세 그게 다리 다 Chapter the six some of on that Gagafa Shell Tang said, Tinted in the shoe letter. Don't some Congo, you must take the town did this phantom.
他们的程序上我呢原本往的当那个的，当到东山强国是个叫我的这个。
我原本 on the town. Reju ko simje thaje to zoba sangje top go ro te to go de jimba ta de tedun song de ma jin ne ko top top ma ra samba sang za yime peng ma ri si joba nyam ze le go su do o de si wa ra kon da samo to de be simje thaje to da ya ge samo ta yo ri da da ni wa de yo ba ra ke ni ba so go ra
다 전주 정원에 인해서
문에 나다 문에 나고 치료 연습만 전주 쌤 문에 제나 팬도가 기다려 말아
말래 원래 저거죠. What Geshe says that even in the case of real bodhisattvas, that's what I'm saying, right? Somebody who has the actual bodhicitta, okay? But still, that bodhisattva or those bodhisattvas need to engage in the six perfections, generosity. Otherwise, there is no action. So the bodhicitta alone in itself is not going to bring them to the enlightened state. So they still need to engage in those deeds or the actions. Okay, thank you very much. I have a lot of announcements to make today. Good news, actually. This is October, right? Some of the what are called the older students, particularly Trisha Kane, requested Geshe for a long period of time if he could teach what are called tenets, right, Drupta. So Geshe said he will think about it, and now he said he could do that. And right now, Trisha is in England taking care of her parents. So she said she will be back by next week. And so she requested the teaching start on October 16, Sunday, right? So we will, on that day, start the tenet teaching, the Drupta. And the way Geshe wants to do that is he doesn't want to use a particular text or something, because he has learned the Drupta for many, many years. So whatever, based upon his knowledge, he wants to teach the tenets, the different schools of thought, okay, within Buddhism. So what we will do is October 16, that Sunday, start the Drupta. We will alternate between Lamrim Chemo and Drupta, right? So 16 will be Drupta, next Sunday will be Lamrim Chemo, then Drupta. We will alternate between the two. Yeah, that's first announcement. The second announcement is, His Most Eminent Song Rinpoche, will be visiting us in November, and he will be giving a series of teachings here. Okay? And of course, you won't remember everything I'm going to say, but this will be, I think, sent to you, or maybe put up on the website and sent through the Yahoo group or whatever, right? We have media there. So on November 18, Friday, 7:30 to 9:30, Song Rinpoche will give Four Noble Truth teaching. Right? That's what we do. Saturday, November 19, in the afternoon from 2 to 5, he will give the preliminary to cherishing initiation, okay? The preliminary day for the Arya Avalokiteshvara Buddha of Compassion initiation. And then that Sunday, November 20, morning 10:30 to 12:30, he will give the actual initiation of empowerment, right? I believe this is my footnote. People who have missed this empowerment and who want to participate in Yungne practice like this, so this is the opportunity. Okay, so anyway, that's my commentary. I could be wrong, but that Sunday is also Buddha's, descent from Tushita heaven. So we also have a talk offering. So hopefully we finish the initiation a little early, and then we do the talk offering right after. Okay, so. Then the week after, November 21st, Monday, evening, 7:30 to 9:30, he will talk about the two truths, right? And then Tuesday, November 22nd, 7:30 to 9:30 evening, he will talk about the Lorik, mind in Tibetan Buddhism, or science of mind, as his holiness say in Buddhism. Wednesday, November 23rd, 7:30 to 9, is a regular talk offering, so no teaching. Everybody's welcome. I guess we open that for everybody. And Thursday, November 24th, is TG Day, Thanksgiving Day, so break, no teaching. Then the following week, November 25th, Friday, in the afternoon from 2 to 5, those who have taken the Yamantaka initiation, done the retreat, we have a self-initiation, Yamantaka solitary with Song Rinpoche leading us. Okay. And then November 26th, Saturday, 2 to 5, Song Rinpoche will teach three principal paths. And November 27, he will continue. So Soren Rinpoche will be giving a lot of teachings in November. And so in the evenings, as you can see, 7:30 teaching. And so he speaks very good English, by now. So that's very exciting for all of us, right? Okay. So Soren Rinpoche 진짜 죽지는 제림 강연도 쉬운 바게. No. So of course during that Sunday, whatever, so we cannot do the regular teaching because Soren Rinpoche will do his teaching. Kange Lode, Timye, Dinda, Ninda, Namda, Rasave, Jinye, Tungun, Chishin, Siche, Nije, Tuwa, Mevan, Kanda, Seve, Zara, Mari, Mendon, Tunge, Geshe, Jozo, Kunla, Puje, Yalan, Juje, Yangden, Zon, Juda, Chero, Nyumo, Leje, Jangron, Juje, Mari, Muse, Tunge, Nyugo, Jinye, Chunze, Radina, Dene, Daje, Sachu, Daze, Yende, Minzo, Geshe, Juda, Juni, Yende, Dalu, Dambe, Yang, Dio, Marabazana, Omara Bazan, Sende, Juji, Jera, Vise, Dalu, Timo, Mimba, Rapsene, Kada, Tenju, Pabe, Nawan, Zendos, Lode, Katsu, Vujun, Pega, Gesan, Pumbe, Judo, Mimba, Tenba, Zenla, Wando, Kishobe, Tanya, Chokun, So on the page 21. Obeisance to my Guru and protector Manjushri, who holds at his heart a scriptural text, symbolic of his seeing all things as they are, whose intelligence shines forth as the sun, unclouded by delusions or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with the loving compassion of Father for his only Son, all creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering. You whose dragon thunder-like proclamation of Dharma arouses us from the stupor of our delusions and free us from the iron chains of our karma, who wields the sword of wisdom, hewing down suffering wherever sprouts appear, clearing away the darkness of ignorance. You who have been pure from the beginning, who have completed the stages achieving the highest perfection of a bodhisattva, whose princely body is adorned with 112 marks of a Buddha, I bow down to you, Manjushri, O Marabaza Nadi. O compassionate one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom, so that I may gain insight into Buddha's words and the texts that explain them. Page 31. Like the sweet perfume of white lotus, born in the ocean of knowledge, nourishing honeybees, the fortunate being, your fame pervades all directions. You are proficient and powerful in upholding the precious doctrine. To you, O Lobsang Tenzin Wangda, respectfully I pray.
Nhất tâm kính lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, bậc đại trí ngài điều phục hai chướng ngại, tựa nhật quang lan tỏa khắp mười phương, bậc thực chứng chân nghĩa màu rốt ráo, từ tim ngài bát nhã kinh thủ hộ nhiệm màu, cõi luân hồi chúng sanh thọ nghiệp báo, bị ngăn che bởi phiền não vô minh, sở hữu 60 pháp âm thủ thắng, cùng đại bi ngài hóa độ chúng sanh, tựa từ mẫu chăm lo cho quý tử, tiếng rồng vang ngài thức tỉnh hữu tình, thoát khỏi phòng luân hồi nghiệp báo, gươm trí tuệ ngài chặt đứt vô minh, tận diệt muôn vàn khổ đau cùng ách nạn. Ngài an trụ nơi thập địa pháp vân, báu thân ngài trang nghiêm thanh tịnh, 112 tướng hảo Như Lai, đê đầu đảnh lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, cúi xin ngài tận diệt ám chướng vô minh. Om Arapasanadi, con khẩn cầu dưới gót sen bậc đại trí, bàn pháp lực diệt phiền não vô minh, được trí sáng con thâm nhập nghĩa màu, pháp vi diệu cùng muôn vàn luận giải, như diệu hương ngọt ngào từ sen trắng, đàn xanh nơi trí thủ thắng đại dương, hàng thiện căn như ong mật thọ nương, hồng danh ngài khắp mười phương quảng bá, đấng thiện xảo uy dũng bảo tồn pháp bảo vô giá. Nam mô Lốp Xăng Tên Diên Quang Đắc, xin cung kính trì niệm.
De ye nyoro do Chanju Senjo Rinpoche, Ma Ye Bana Ye Yo Je, Ye Wa Nyam Ba Me Ba Yang, Go Ne Gong Do, Pe Wa Yu, Dong Ni Da Wa Rinpoche, Ma Ye Bana Ye Yo, Ye Wa Nyam Ba Me Ba Yang, Dong Be Wa Yu, Sa Ji, Be Jin Zhu Ji, Me Do Zhang, Ri Ra Lin Ji, Nin De Yin Ba De, Sang Jie Jin Do, Mi De Wei, Lang Da Jin Lang Jue Ba Yu, Gang Ri Ra Wei, Guo Wei Xin Gang De, Ben Dang De Wa Ma Lu Zhong Wei Ne, 现日在王定真要做也，小白谁的忙？天有日也当古如让那满的么？你让大呀